Scientists just discovered something hidden inside Tyrannosaurus rex fossils that nobody knew existed. For decades, researchers believed T-Rex reached adulthood at around 25 years old. That number appeared everywhere. Museum exhibits, documentaries, scientific studies. Nobody seriously questioned it. Then scientists took another look at the evidence, and they found something impossible. Entire years of a Tyrannosaurus's life had been hiding inside its bones. Not 1 or 2 years, nearly 15, and once those missing years were added back into the timeline, Roan of the most famous predators in history suddenly looked completely different, because according to the new evidence, T-Rex spent most of its life not as the king of the dinosaurs, but as a young predator struggling to survive long enough to become one. And that discovery revealed a side of Tyrannosaurus almost nobody talks about. When most people imagine T-Rex, they picture a giant, a bone-crushing predator weighing several tons, an animal so powerful that almost nothing could challenge it. But that wasn't how its life began. A young Tyrannosaurus weighed only around 27 kilograms, roughly the size of a large dog. And in a world filled with giant herbivores, dangerous predators, and even larger tyrannosaurs, that was a problem, because nearly everything around it was bigger, and many things were capable of killing it. For years, scientists believed this vulnerable stage of life didn't last very long. The assumption was simple. T-Rex grew up quickly, reached adulthood around 25 years old, then spent much of its life as an apex predator. But hidden inside the fossils was evidence that challenged that entire story. The discovery came from something surprisingly small: growth rings. Much like trees, dinosaur bones record growth over time. Scientists have used these microscopic rings for decades to estimate age, count the rings, estimate the years. Simple. At least that's what researchers thought. Because when paleontologists re-examined Tyrannosaurus bones using specialized polarized light, they noticed something strange. New rings appeared, rings that hadn't been counted before, years that scientists didn't even know existed. Suddenly, the timeline changed. Those hidden rings revealed that Tyrannosaurus wasn't reaching full maturity at 25 years old. It may have taken 35 to 40 years. And if that sounds like a small correction, it wasn't. Imagine discovering that one of the most famous animals in history spent nearly half its life in a stage scientists didn't even know existed. Suddenly, the Tyrannosaurus everyone thought they knew was gone. For decades, we imagined T-Rex spending most of its life as a giant predator. The new evidence suggests the opposite. It spent most of its life becoming one. And that raises a far more interesting question. What exactly was T-Rex doing during all those extra years? The answer reveals something unexpected. Young tyrannosaurs weren't simply smaller versions of adults. In many ways, they may have lived completely different lives. Adult T-Rex was built for power: massive skull, bone-crushing bite, enormous body. Everything about it was designed to dominate. Juveniles looked so different that if you saw one in the wild, you might not even realize it was a Tyrannosaurus. They were leaner, faster, built for speed rather than power. The future king of the dinosaurs spent decades looking more like a hunter trying to avoid danger than a predator creating it. Their legs were proportionally longer, their bodies were lighter, their skulls were narrower, and their bite force wasn't even close to that of a fully grown adult. Some paleontologists believe young tyrannosaurs occupied a completely different ecological role. Instead of targeting giant prey, they likely hunted smaller, faster animals. An adult T-Rex wouldn't bother chasing. In other words, the same species may have functioned like different predators at different stages of life. And if the new study is correct, tyrannosaurs may have spent more than 2 decades living in this younger form. Not as giants, not as rulers, but as fast, vulnerable predators trying to survive in a dangerous world. And survival appears to have been brutal, because the fossil record preserves evidence of what those years were really like. Around half of the specimens examined by researchers show signs of healed injuries, scars embedded directly in the skull, evidence of attacks, fights, trauma. These weren't animals living peaceful lives. They were getting injured, recovering, then returning to the same dangerous environment again and again. Think about what that means. These animals weren't living easy lives on top of the food chain. They were being bitten, crushed, injured, and somehow surviving long enough for those wounds to heal. Every scar represents a battle that didn't end in death. Every scar tells the same story. Reaching adulthood was never guaranteed. And the bones reveal something else, something that may be even more important. Many Tyrannosaurus fossils contain clusters of growth rings packed unusually close together. Researchers call these formations multiplets. They likely represent periods when growth slowed dramatically, years when food may have been scarce, years when environmental conditions worsened, years when survival mattered more than getting bigger. For a growing Tyrannosaurus, those years could have been devastating. Food disappears. Growth stops. Every hunt becomes more dangerous. Every injury becomes harder to recover from. The bones suggest that becoming an adult wasn't a steady climb. It was a fight. Imagine spending years fighting to stay alive while barely growing at all. That's the picture beginning to emerge from the fossil record. But the consequences of this discovery don't stop there, because it may also affect one of the biggest debates in dinosaur science. For decades, paleontologists have argued over a controversial dinosaur called Nanotyrannus. Some researchers believe it was a separate species. Others believe it never existed at all. Instead, they argue those fossils belong to young tyrannosaurs. The debate remains unresolved, but the new findings complicate things even further. Because if T-Rex spent an additional 15 years growing, some fossils that appear to belong to different animals may actually represent different stages of the same species. What looks like a separate predator could simply be a teenager with decades of growth still ahead of it. And that possibility forces scientists to reconsider some of the most controversial fossils ever discovered. But even that wasn't the strangest part of the study, because 2 specimens refused to follow the pattern entirely. Out of 17 Tyrannosaurus fossils, 2 showed growth histories so unusual that researchers couldn't include them in the final model. They simply didn't fit. Their development followed a completely different path, and nobody knows why. Maybe disease altered their growth. Maybe environmental conditions were unusually harsh. Maybe there's another factor scientists still haven't identified. For now, the fossils aren't providing answers, only more questions. And that's what makes this discovery so remarkable. Tyrannosaurus rex is arguably the most studied dinosaur that ever lived. Scientists have analyzed its skull, estimated its bite force, modeled its speed, reconstructed its muscles, examined nearly every aspect of its biology. We thought we knew its story, yet hidden inside its bones was an entirely different chapter, a chapter that remained invisible for more than a century. Not the story of a predator born to rule, the story of an animal that spent decades fighting to earn that position. When most people picture Tyrannosaurus rex, they imagine the final stage of its life. The giant, the hunter, the apex predator, the king. But according to the latest evidence, that chapter may have been surprisingly short. Most of its life wasn't spent ruling its world. Most of its life was spent surviving it, fighting through injuries, enduring years of slow growth, living as a predator that was powerful enough to hunt, but not yet powerful enough to dominate. And for nearly 15 of those years, nobody even knew that story existed, until the bones finally gave it back.